Using the three-pillar approach. A city mayor must consider all three tenets of sustainability to ensure the health and longevity of their municipality. These tenets comprise what is known as the three-pillar approach, which concerns the social, environmental, and economic spheres within a city. Socially, it is a mayor's responsibility to make sure that all citizens have what they need to survive and thrive. This means providing affordable housing, equitable job opportunities, efficient and affordable transportation options, and access to healthy, fairly priced food, goods, and public services. People should feel welcome and connected to their communities. Diverse communities with a wide range of amenities, both functional and recreational, have what they need to live happy, enriched lives. A sense of pride and belonging ultimately strengthens a city's social life, improving the experience for locals and visitors alike. Environmentally, a city mayor must protect and preserve natural resources such as the land, air, and water in order to promote biodiversity and protect vulnerable plant and animal habitats. Without a healthy environment, cities are at risk of succumbing to unbreathable air, undrinkable water, and unusable land. While often overlooked, the health of the natural environment directly affects the health of those living in it. Additionally, a neglected natural environment will deter outsiders from living or investing in that city. For example, Louisville struggles with poor air quality and high levels of ozone pollution, which could deter newcomers and will harm citizens with pre-existing heart or breathing conditions. Economically, a mayor must balance the desire for growth with the need to protect the other two tenets described. Our capitalistic society depends upon efficient, functional local economies tasked with providing fair-paying jobs and the opportunities they subsequently afford citizens. Beyond its own citizens, a city must also be appealing to outside investors and developers, if it has any desire to grow. Too often, we see economic interests prioritized above all else, which leads to income inequality, dangerous living conditions, and entire neighborhood communities being neglected by those meant to help them. A sustainable economy would then work for everyone by expanding the opportunity for even the most vulnerable to prosper. Balancing the three pillars of sustainability is no easy task, and prioritizing one will diminish the others. It is paramount for creating strong, long-lasting cities, however. Sustainable cities. Who is doing it right? When looking for the best ways to improve our own cities, sometimes it is best to see who has already implemented successful sustainability initiatives. Freiburg, Germany has a reputation for being a green city. In the early 2000s, the city decided to put up 4 wind turbines and then fought the state government to keep them. They have an expansive public transportation network, which is constantly adapted to suit citizens' needs. The same monthly pass lets riders use intra-city transport as well as intercity train lines, allowing commuters to leave their cars at home. New neighborhoods are developed as a whole and with a plan, integrating urban design and setting high building efficiency standards. The Vauban neighborhood, which started as a remodel of an old French barracks, will only allow carbon-neutral buildings to be built, for example. Freiburg is about twice as dense as Louisville, but is quite a bit smaller in population and geography, making bikes a primary mode of transportation for many people. There's an emphasis on mixed-use development, which emulates the historic part of town, like in this example, where a mixed-use development was built on a site that used to hold a single supermarket before it burned down. The development services a large and densely populated area. Other European cities have announced concrete plans, especially for pollution reduction and building efficiencies. Singapore, faced with an inadequate supply of fresh water, has implemented a range of water management practices. These include saltwater desalination, recycling reclaimed water, and rainwater catchment systems. Singapore is also home to the Zero Energy Building, the greenest in their country and a model for future building projects. These cities provide a few examples for approaching sustainability. But for each city, strategies will have to be adapted to suit present conditions. However, following their lead, mayors would not have to start from scratch, as there are plenty of successful models already in action across the globe. City health versus re-election. There are many factors that influence what a mayor might do in the span of their term. Oftentimes, they are inclined to tread lightly on sustainability issues as to not ostracize any potential voters. While the importance of political reputation is generally understood, sustainable initiatives to improve the health of a city should take precedent. Cities should listen to their citizens and implement smart solutions, again ensuring that future generations have the opportunity to do the same. Political pressures, especially surrounding re-elections, usually favor short-term economic development over long-term social and environmental issues. What is Louisville already doing, and what can we do better? Louisville has a history of being a transportation hub, and that has continued through today with its ties to UPS and the auto industry. As a result, many political actions have been geared towards accommodating shipping to the detriment of the social and especially the environmental spheres. The city had one of the first trolley systems in the United States, but decided to pave over the tracks and pivot infrastructure towards cars. Now mobility within the city is car-dependent, with only a few areas dense enough to support a multimodal transportation system. Many of these economic developments called for quick and cheap housing, leading to urban sprawl. Urban sprawl, or the common practice of using more land than a given population requires, negatively contributes to both air quality and green space deterioration. Building endlessly away from the city center, sprawl expands the built environment onto previously undeveloped land and causes people to spend an ever-increasing amount of time driving their cars. Louisville is very sprawled out, and the trend continues in that direction, effectively shutting people of lower income groups out of many job opportunities. Though the city of Louisville has already implemented several sustainability-related programs, we still have a long way to go. Some of Mayor Greg Fisher's goals include an 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, an improvement in tree canopy coverage from the current 37% to 45%, the implementation of bike lanes throughout the city, and a fleet of electronic TARC buses. These are included in the city's plan for climate action and resilience. In addition to these initiatives coming from the mayor's office, private groups like Trees Louisville, Louisville Grows, and the Kentucky Waterways Alliance are taking on some of these challenges themselves. From a sustainability standpoint, there's still plenty of room for improvement in our city. A 100% conversion away from fossil fuels no later than 2030 is a moral imperative. While an 80% reduction in emissions by 2050 seems like a good start, it is not quick or aggressive enough to mitigate the worst effects of climate change, according to the IPCC. Electric buses and bike lanes are also reasonable starting points, but the city is deeply entrenched in its car dependency, which leads to harmful emissions which we should be fervently avoiding. Louisville has also been taking strides in regards to green space coverage and park development, yet our heat island continues to grow and requires large-scale tree planting and depaving projects to combat its effects. Socially, income gaps and racial disparities are abounding and evident throughout the city. Some steps are being taken to revitalize the West End, largely by private ventures. However, these neighborhoods are still struggling. Developments like New Lou revitalize a declining neighborhood, but there aren't any checks in place to ensure a place for those who previously lived in the area. Instead, they are uprooted and pushed further into the West End, as so many are by gentrification. Now the developers are moving on to the Portland area, and those unable to pay the inevitable rent hikes are surely to be pushed out of their own neighborhoods. Louisville experienced major white flight after the 1937 flood, and the resulting east-west segregation is still a massive problem. There's a very clear racial divide between neighborhoods in the East and West, which also tracks along other important factors like income and pollution levels. We have a 10-year discrepancy in life expectancy between the East and West ends. It is no wonder then that opportunities are less in the West End, and through the sprawl addressed earlier, there are major geographic barriers for anyone from the West wanting to engage with or work in the East. In summary, bringing sustainability to our cities should be a main target for any present or incoming mayor. They should work on balancing the three pillars of sustainability, model their initiatives after cities where sustainability has already taken hold, prioritize the health and opportunities of their citizens over their plans for re-election, and expand the best attributes of their city into all possible categories. Following these guidelines will serve to improve the lives of generations to come.